The irony was suffocating as my mother delivered her monthly lecture about how money ruins families while holding the printed bank statements that proved she'd requested $20,000 from me in the past 30 days. Her voice carried the moral authority of someone discussing philosophical principles rather than justifying the systematic financial exploitation she'd been orchestrating for 18 months. "Jessica, money ruins families when people become selfish about it," Mom said, setting down the bank statements that detailed my transfers to her account with the satisfaction of someone reviewing successful business transactions. "Real family members help each other without keeping score or making demands." I sat quietly in the kitchen of what she believed was her house, watching her count the money I'd transferred while lecturing me about the corrupting influence of financial priorities. The cognitive dissonance was breathtaking. She was simultaneously obsessed with accessing my money and convinced that caring about money was morally destructive. "Money doesn't matter in family relationships," she continued, her tone suggesting she was sharing wisdom rather than justifying theft. "What matters is love, support, and being there for each other when times are difficult." Being there for each other. In our family's twisted dynamic, that phrase meant I would be there financially while everyone else would be there to accept my contributions. I was the 25-year-old software engineer who supposedly lived paycheck to paycheck but somehow always managed to help family when they needed it. Which was constantly. "Mom, $20,000 in 1 month is a lot," I said carefully, maintaining the facade of concerned financial limitation while documenting her response for the legal case I'd been building. "It's not about the amount, sweetheart. It's about family responsibility. Your father and I raised you, supported you through college, gave you opportunities. Now that you're working, it's natural that you'd want to help us through our temporary difficulties." Temporary difficulties. Dad's temporary unemployment had lasted 14 months and showed no signs of ending, mainly because job searching interfered with his golf schedule and fishing trips. Mom's temporary medical expenses included spa treatments and luxury supplements that somehow qualified as essential health care. When you start keeping track of money between family members, that's when relationships become transactional and love disappears, Mom added, her philosophical discourse interrupted by her phone buzzing with what I knew would be another financial request from my brother or sister. The phone call was from my sister Elena, whose voice carried through Mom's speaker with the particular urgency that preceded major financial demands. "Mom, I need $8,000 by Friday for the security deposit on my new apartment. The landlord won't hold it longer, and this place is perfect for my career development." Elena's career development had cost me approximately $67,000 over the past year, funding various apartments, courses, networking events and professional wardrobe upgrades that never seemed to translate into actual employment or income. $8,000 is significant," Mom replied, looking at me with the expectant expression that meant I should volunteer to solve Elena's housing crisis. "But family comes first, and Elena's career success benefits all of us eventually." Family comes first, family success benefits everyone, family helps family. The mantras that justified treating my income as communal property while my siblings' potential income remained their personal future assets. "Jessica can handle it," Elena's voice continued through the speaker. "She's always so generous, and money doesn't really matter to her the way it matters to people who have to struggle. Money doesn't matter to me. According to my family's narrative, I was both too poor to have opinions about large expenses and so wealthy that large expenses didn't matter to me. The contradiction was necessary to maintain their extraction strategy while preserving their moral superiority about money not mattering in families. "I'll transfer it," I said, opening my banking app while Mom smiled approvingly at my demonstration of proper family values. "See," Mom said after I'd sent Elena's money. "When money doesn't matter more than family, everything works out beautifully. Your sister gets the apartment, you get the satisfaction of helping, and our family stays strong." Our family stayed strong through my financial contributions while everyone else contributed emotional support, moral guidance, and gratitude that I should apparently find more valuable than the money they didn't think should matter. My phone buzzed with a text from my attorney, David Morrison, who specialized in financial crimes and had been documenting my family's systematic exploitation. "Jessica, evidence compilation complete. 3-attorney team prepared for intervention. Federal embezzlement charges drafted. Ready to proceed when you give authorization. David." 18 months of documentation had revealed that my family's philosophical stance about money not mattering in relationships was actually sophisticated financial manipulation designed to extract maximum funds while preventing resistance through moral pressure. The psychological tactics were textbook financial abuse, isolating the victim from normal financial boundaries by claiming those boundaries were evidence of moral failure, creating false urgency around other family members' needs while minimizing the victim's right to financial autonomy, and establishing a moral framework where questioning financial demands was treated as evidence of corrupted values. "Mom," I said carefully, "I've been thinking about our family's financial arrangement." Her expression shifted immediately from philosophical satisfaction to defensive alertness. "What kind of thinking?" "Just wondering if there might be more balanced ways for everyone to contribute to family needs." "Jessica." Her voice carried the warning tone that preceded lectures about ingratitude and selfishness. "When you start talking about balance and fairness in family relationships, that's when money starts ruining families. Real family doesn't keep score. Real family doesn't keep score. But somehow my contributions were always remembered and appreciated while other family members' contributions remained undefined and unmeasurable. The lack of scorekeeping only applied to tracking what I gave, never to tracking what others received." "I'm not trying to keep score," I said. "I'm just thinking about sustainability." "Sustainability." Mom's voice pitched higher with indignation. "Family relationships aren't business transactions that need to be sustainable. They're based on love, commitment, and mutual support. Mutual support where the support flowed in one direction while the gratitude flowed in the other, creating a perfect system for systematic extraction disguised as family values." That evening, I called David to authorize the legal intervention that would expose my family's systematic exploitation and force them to confront the reality of their coordinated financial manipulation. "Jessica, once we serve papers, there's no going back. Your family will discover not only that you've been documenting their exploitation, but that you've been working with federal investigators to build criminal charges." "What kind of criminal charges?" "Organized financial exploitation, systematic embezzlement through emotional manipulation, and potentially fraud depending on whether they've been accessing your accounts without authorization." "They haven't accessed my accounts directly. But they've used coordinated emotional manipulation to extract money through false emergencies, manufactured crises, and systematic psychological pressure. That constitutes financial abuse regardless of account access." The legal framework was complex, but the pattern was clear. My family had been running an organized exploitation operation disguised as philosophical principles about money not mattering in family relationships. "David, how much have they extracted total?" "Approximately $180,000 over 18 months. Not counting opportunity costs, emotional damages, and the economic impact of their systematic manipulation." $180,000. More than many people earned in 3 years, extracted through emotional manipulation while my family convinced themselves and everyone else that money didn't matter and I was being generous because financial concerns were beneath family relationships. What happens when they're served? They'll discover that their philosophical stance about money not mattering was actually systematic financial exploitation that constitutes federal crimes. They'll also learn that you've been documenting everything for potential prosecution. 3 days later, I woke up to frantic calls from my entire family. The voicemails told the story of their morning encounter with professional legal intervention. Mom's message, 8:30 a.m. "Jessica, 3 attorneys came to the house with papers about embezzlement and financial exploitation. They say we've been stealing from you for 18 months. This has to be a mistake." Dad's message, 9:15 a.m. "There are lawyers here saying we committed crimes by asking you for money. They have documentation of every transfer, every conversation. What did you do to us?" Elena's message, 10:45 a.m. "Jessica, Mom's crying and Dad's furious. Lawyers served us with papers saying we embezzled money from you. They want us to appear in court. How could you do this to family?" The progression from confusion to victim blaming was predictable. My family was discovering that their systematic exploitation disguised as family values was actually criminal behavior that warranted legal prosecution. David called at noon with updates. "Jessica, the service went smoothly. Your family was presented with evidence of coordinated financial exploitation, documentation of their systematic manipulation tactics, and notice of potential federal charges. How did they react? Initial shock, followed by claims that they thought the money was gifts, followed by anger that you'd been documenting their behavior for legal purposes. What's their legal exposure? Significant. The pattern of coordinated requests, false emergencies, and systematic extraction meets federal thresholds for organized financial exploitation. The total amount exceeds $180,000, which triggers serious prosecution guidelines. That afternoon, I received a call from my parents' emergency attorney consultation. Ms. Henderson, this is attorney Patricia Wells representing your family. We need to discuss the allegations in these court documents. What would you like to discuss? Your family maintains that the money transfers were gifts between family members, motivated by love and support rather than any kind of exploitation or criminal activity. Did they mention their philosophy about money not mattering in family relationships? Pause. They did mention that financial concerns shouldn't interfere with family support. Attorney Wells, I have 18 months of recorded conversations where my family discusses strategies for maximizing extraction from my accounts while maintaining my compliance through moral manipulation. Would you like me to forward those recordings to the prosecutor? Longer pause. Ms. Henderson, perhaps we should discuss resolution options that don't involve criminal prosecution. The legal meeting took place 1 week later in David's conference room, where my family encountered documentation of their systematic exploitation presented by 3 attorneys who specialized in financial crimes. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, David began formally, our investigation has revealed coordinated financial exploitation that meets federal criteria for organized embezzlement through emotional manipulation. Embezzlement. Mom's voice carried the same moral indignation she'd used when lecturing me about money-ruining families. We're Jessica's parents. We raised her, supported her, loved her. That's not embezzlement. Mrs. Henderson, embezzlement is taking money through deception or manipulation. Your family used coordinated emotional manipulation to extract $180,000 while convincing Jessica that caring about financial boundaries was morally wrong. David spread evidence across the conference table. Bank records showing systematic extraction, recorded conversations revealing coordination among family members, and documentation of false emergencies manufactured to justify financial demands. This pattern of behavior constitutes organized financial exploitation, David continued. Multiple family members coordinated requests, manufactured urgencies, and used emotional manipulation to prevent Jessica from establishing financial boundaries. We never forced her to give us money. Dad protested. Mr. Henderson, force isn't required for financial exploitation. Systematic manipulation, emotional coercion, and coordinated pressure tactics constitute criminal behavior regardless of whether physical force was used. The second attorney, Sarah Chin, presented analysis of their psychological manipulation tactics. Your family created a moral framework where Jessica's financial autonomy was treated as evidence of corrupted values. You convinced her that questioning your financial demands was proof that money mattered more to her than family relationships. That's not manipulation. Mom insisted. That's teaching proper family values. Mrs. Henderson, using moral pressure to extract money while preventing resistance is textbook financial exploitation. You systematically undermined Jessica's right to financial boundaries by claiming those boundaries were evidence of moral failure. The third attorney, Michael Torres, addressed the criminal implications. Your family's behavior meets federal definitions of organized financial exploitation. The coordination among family members, the systematic nature of the extraction, and the total amount involved triggers serious criminal penalties. Criminal penalties? Elena looked panicked. We thought Jessica was helping us because she wanted to help family. Ms. Henderson, the evidence shows your family monitored Jessica's income, coordinated requests to maximize extraction, and used emotional manipulation to maintain her compliance. That's organized financial exploitation, not family support. The meeting lasted 4 hours as my family encountered professional documentation of behavior they'd convinced themselves was evidence of strong family values and moral superiority about money not mattering in relationships. What are our options? Dad asked finally. Complete restitution with interest, formal acknowledgement of financial exploitation, and cessation of all financial demands, David replied. or federal prosecution for organized embezzlement with potential prison sentences and asset forfeiture. We can't pay back that kind of money. Mom protested. Then you shouldn't have spent money you extracted through systematic emotional manipulation while claiming money doesn't matter in family relationships. 6 months later, my family had begun restitution payments by selling their house, Dad's golf equipment, and Mom's jewelry collection. The philosophical stance about money not mattering disappeared quickly when they faced financial consequences for their exploitation. Dad got a full-time job for the first time in 2 years. Mom ended her expensive medical treatments and discovered that her health problems improved when she had genuine responsibilities instead of manufactured crises requiring my financial solutions. Elena moved into an apartment she could actually afford and began developing job skills instead of depending on family subsidies for career development that never materialized. 1 year later, Dad called to discuss the restitution progress and for the first time, acknowledged what they'd done to me. Jessica, I want to say something I should have said months ago. We were stealing from you while convincing ourselves we were teaching you proper values about money and family. Thank you for saying that, Dad. We created this whole philosophy about money not mattering in families, but really we just wanted access to your money without having to acknowledge that we were taking advantage of your success. 15 years after the original legal intervention, I met with Mom following her release from federal prison. She'd completed extensive psychological rehabilitation and had become a counselor specializing in helping parents recognize and overcome financial exploitation behaviors. Jessica, I want you to know that federal prison probably saved our family from even more serious crimes. The counseling showed us that we were part of a criminal organization that was training us to escalate our exploitation until we'd either destroyed you psychologically or stolen everything you could ever earn. What did you learn in prison? That the philosophy about money not mattering in families was actually a sophisticated psychological manipulation technique designed to prevent victims from recognizing systematic theft. We weren't teaching family values. We were implementing criminal methodology that professional con artists had developed. The family that had once treated me like their personal financial resource while claiming money didn't matter in families had become advocates for preventing other families from falling into similar criminal exploitation networks. Sometimes people who claim money doesn't matter in family relationships are actually part of organized criminal enterprises that specialize in teaching families to exploit their children through sophisticated psychological manipulation techniques. Sometimes family moral guidance is actually criminal methodology designed to maximize financial extraction while preventing victim recognition and resistance. And sometimes the most important prosecution is the one that exposes not just individual family exploitation, but organized criminal networks that have been teaching parents to systematically destroy their children's financial autonomy while maintaining plausible deniability through manipulated family values and psychological warfare techniques that require federal intervention to identify and stop.